Alex, it's Friday. We're back. Whatever that means.
Yeah, it is the weekend coming up, and I personally could not be happier for that. Uh,
Why? What happened this week?
I don't know. Like this weekend has just been weirdly draining on me, and I don't know why. It's not like I've had anything. Okay, you know what it was?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that NBA 2K15 is a terrible game, but it
Uh-huh.
has been one of the most infuriating games I've had to review in a while.
We can't track your face?
It's not just the face stuff, which is definitely its own set of weird problems. I did it on my own here in the living room of my apartment, and it only took like two or three tries, and it worked perfectly. It was
Have you
fine.
seen that video from Polygon writer Owen Good,
Yep.
in which he spends about 3 minutes in which the game tries to capture his face, and it's hilarious. Apparently, it was featured on Jimmy Fallon last night.
That's not surprising because it is that. So, Vinny and I, when we tried to record the quick look, and we decided we wanted to try and scan Vinny's face into the game, it took us about 2.5 hours to get something usable out of that fucking thing.
Oh.
There is at least a solid hour and a half of footage of us just futzing around with that fucking thing trying to make it work.
You should put that online.
It's you know what? It's funny for about 5 or 10 minutes because it just keeps failing, and then at a certain point, it's just us yelling "fuck" over and over and over again, and it's not. It's just sad, if anything else.
This doesn't seem like the Madden stuff in which EA found a way to embrace and have some fun with the glitches in the game when you had like the little tiny dude that they ended up even
Yeah.
turning into like some sort of quest thing that you could do in the I don't know, like they actually incorporated it into the game and sort of embraced the weirdness. This I don't I can't tell if this is a good it's certainly giving more attention to NBA 2K15 than it would ever get any other way to like you know outsiders like myself that don't pay attention to sports games that much.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't tell if it's good though. It seems
It's 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 such a good idea that is nonetheless not executed very well. I don't know if how this stuff works on the Xbox. I have not. I only have the PS4 version, so I've only been using the PlayStation camera for this stuff. And again, if you're in a room with exactly the right kind of lighting that camera likes, it actually is a fairly seamless process, and it works relatively quickly.
so when
If
it
you're
works, it works great. When it doesn't work, it is complete horseshit.
It is a spectacular failure, to such a degree that like even in our fairly well lit studio, every time Vinny would put his face in front of the camera, it was like a giant white egg with eyes. Like there was no features. Like you couldn't discern a face in any of it. And it's like no matter how many different ways we tried to shift the lighting, so it was like a top or behind or front or whatever, it's just like something else would fuck it up. And I have rarely been so enraged by a game just not working right because that was the key thing in the video. I wanted to show the face scanning stuff because that's one of the biggest things I have in the game this year. And to not even be able to do that just made me want to just start kicking things over in a way that I have not wanted to do with a game in quite a while. And on top of that, the extra frustrating cherry on top of that shit sandwich. I don't know why you put a cherry on a sandwich. I'm mixing my metaphors here. But the point is, there's a really good ass basketball game in there, but even on top of the face scanning stuff, it just doesn't work right. All of that game is tied to their just borked ass online servers. So I'll be like playing, the my career mode with my created player, and then suddenly I'll get spat back out to the main menu because it can't, connect to the server. And 2 out of 3 times, it'll lose my face scan because of that. Like it just disappears,
Wait, I don't.
and I have to go back and I have to.
Like you have to do it again.
So sometimes it will keep the scan, but it will forget all of the skull morphing and the beards or hair or any of that shit. So you'll come back and it'll be like, so I recognize my face, but what is that monster skull that it has been like laid over? Because none of that is what I had on there before. Other times it will just lose it entirely, and that shit is unacceptable.
So it's just like unpolished.
Yeah, and to be fair, 2K14. When I reviewed it last year, I wasn't having these issues, but I am told, and I experienced some of it as I tried to play it after I reviewed it, that the servers just took a real dark turn at a certain point and became kind of unplayable until like fucking January. This right out of the gate has had these problems, and most of the offline modes seem to work pretty well, work okay. But there's this, just anytime it needs to connect to those servers, it's a complete crapshoot if it's actually going to be able to do it or not.
So why does it need to connect to the internet? Is there
Because all of the modes, or not all of them, but the number of the modes tie to this virtual currency in the game, and it uses the servers to calculate and deal with all that virtual currency stuff so that you can buy upgrades and do whatever.
So like it tries to, but why does that require? Like, can you trade currency? Like, why does this require the internet?
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
I don't fucking know. There have been times when I've been playing the My Player mode, which is, in theory, an offline mode, and I've been trying to go in and upgrade my player with the currency that I have earned, and then I will sit there on the menu while it tries to calculate how much virtual currency it needs to do that upgrade, and it can't do it because it needs to contact the server in order to calculate the amount of money you need to spend to do this. Why did anyone think that was a good idea?
It doesn't make any sense because it has no impact on other players. Like, the idea that a currency would have to contact the server for balancing issues would make sense in a world where players had impact on the currency, or that there was an economy impacted by the players, but that doesn't seem.
No, it's just fucking money you earn to do stuff in the game. That's it. And that currency ties into stuff in some of the online modes. And the VC stuff has been in there before, but it's like I've never run into this issue where it's like the virtual currency shit is actually like breaking the stuff I'm trying to play offline. Like, that is a crazy-ass thing to me, and it is nightmarish, and it has made trying to review this game kind of a hot mess, because I'll be doing stuff, and then I just can't do it anymore, because the game decides that it doesn't want me to do it anymore. I have not gotten into a single My Park online game, which is their, like, street ball mode, without it disconnecting me halfway through. And you can't... Not only can you not just quit when that happens, you have to sit there and watch your AI fucking players play through the rest of the game. And it's only a game to 15, so it's not like a long game.
Wait. So when the server disconnect happens, the game finishes out?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
Does it go into does it count as a win or a loss somewhere?
Yes, it does. It does count to your record, so they want to have those wins losses in there.
So because of server errors, you can have an inaccurate win-loss ratio.
Yes. And Chaser makes the salient point that the VC currency is something that can be purchased with real money, like it is something you can buy. That is a microtransaction, but it's also something you earn in plentiful amounts just by playing the game. So, yeah, I don't know why they do this. Blind Eagle is saying they ping the servers on VC transactions because people learned how to pirate it when they introduced it.
That all may be true, but their solution
doesn't fix anything.
Well, their solution impacts legitimate players in a way that makes the experience profoundly frustrating, especially during the first week in which you're excited and the servers are having issues. They're making it so you can't enjoy the game you want to play, and that's not a solution.
No.
And how often are server problems something we hear about for a basketball game?
I know, right? I mean, 2K Sports, to be fair, has had its share of problems over the years when it comes to their online servers for all their sports games. In pre-VC, pre-last year's game, I feel like they had kind of gotten things to an okay place, but then, stuff happened with last year's game, and this year it's just, it's just not been fun to try and play that game, which sucks because the core basketball game is still one of the absolute best sports gameplay experiences you will get anywhere. It looks amazing. The My Player stuff is really good. The franchise mode is fun. Like all the basic stuff that you want is there, and it's good. It just doesn't all work together in a way that makes it easy to do any of it. And I got to play some more today. I'm hoping that by the time the weekend is over, the server issues will have worked themselves out. If they haven't, it's gonna be a real disappointed sounding review from me.
That's too bad. It's unfortunate when technical problems that seem solvable end up hamstringing a game that is otherwise pretty competent.
Yeah, it is, and it also gives me a little bit of worry about how WWE 2K15 is going to run. I mean, I know it's like separate teams, and they don't necessarily. I don't think that game uses virtual currency yet. But man, yeah, it's just. But you want to know the most maddening thing about all of this? The best and most consistently enjoyable sports game I've played all year is Madden.
What have we come to, Alex?
And that's not to slag Madden, because this year's Madden is actually good.
Right, but like Madden is always like wavers between a 3 and a 4, and like, it's not that great this year, but it's fine, and then it's like, it's pretty surprisingly okay, but it never, it's been a while since it's been, fuck yeah, they nailed it, Madden.
Yeah, and it's like, this is the closest they've gotten, and that was enough. I don't know how FIFA is, and I don't play the MLB games, or the MLB game, because I guess the show is really the only major one left, but for me, yeah, like if we actually had a sports category in our Game of the Year shit, I'd be looking at Madden and I'd be going, yeah, I guess.
It's the yeah, I guess category.
Pretty much. So yeah, that's been my week. Trying to wrestle with that game like it's some kind of fucking rabid tiger or something. And it's fine. Oh no, Sater in the chat just said WWE 2K15 will have VC.
Well, you know what? What's really frustrating about it too, and someone earlier in the chat pointed it out, is that it's this virtual currency, stuff that you earn in the game, that 20 years ago would have just been a cheat code that you just put in on the front end of the the start menu, but game companies have gotten greedy. And they want to make money off of cheat codes rather than just, if you want to break the game, go right ahead. Who gives a shit? You bought the game. Do what you want with it. All we're changing is a value in the background that has zero meaning, except we gave an arbitrary value to it. And now they want to charge you for that, the convenience of cheating, which used to be something that you got for free because you already paid $60 for the game. And because they're so greedy that they want to continue making money off of your ability to cheat the game, it is impacting people who want to play the game legitimately. Like, that is absolutely insane when you think about it that way. That they're monetizing cheating and then are ruining the player experience for people that just want to have a good time and play the game on their own. Like, that's fucking nuts and infuriating.
The economy is a lie.
God damn it.
Capitalism is a lie.
That is... Every time I think about the fact that we have monetized cheating, it drives me nuts.
It's where we're at now. Like, just societally, that's where things are at. Is you pay to play the game you want to play, and fuck, man, I don't know. I can't even...
People pay for it, right? So, like, in a capitalist society, I can't really argue with the fact that they've done it because
because people pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it okay. There are plenty of things that you can do that are still shitty. It's still shitty, especially when it then impacts the people who are trying to play the game normal.
It would be okay if they could make the game work otherwise. If it didn't have this negative impact on your ability to play the game, then it would be fine. I would not give a shit one way or the other. But right now, because of the way their servers are working and the way this VC shit works, it is just not working right.
Yeah. Yes. That is where you come down on the sort of middle of the road feeling on it. Is that okay? Yes, it feels really lame that they've monetized cheating, but if people want to pay for it, then I guess give the people what they want. But then it has to not impact the experience of people who want to have the legitimate play experience, and that is not happening here. Thus, I'm allowed to be as angry as I am.
They're still working on the whole monetizing teens thing. It's taking time. This is the way that they're trying to supplement that in the meantime. Once they figure out how to just like get teens to vomit money in their direction, then they'll be fine. But we're not there yet.
Yeah. So, well, that's too bad because it seems like that's where a little bit of the business end has kind of impacted the play experience in a way that is too bad because it seems like there's a pretty decent game there.
Yeah, there is. It's still a good basketball game. I just, if we were using the Kotaku scale for rating stuff, it would be a not yet, is the way I would describe it. It is a game that I think could be very good. They got to fix some shit, and they got to do it soon. Drink that coffee.
I am drinking that coffee.
I'm drinking my coffee.
I have played a lot of Shadow of Mordor this week.
How have you been enjoying it?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
I wish the world wasn't so boring.
I know what you mean.
It is not a memorable place to look at.
No, I mean it's supposed to be this horrible kind of just rough, nasty place that is not pleasant to look at. I mean, it's full of orcs, and the whole point of orcs is that they are supposed to be these creatures of pure evil. Whether they actually are or not, I don't know. But like that's the premise they're going with. So I'm not surprised that it kind of looks dull and drab and just not very pleasant. But you're right. That doesn't make exploring that world that much more exciting to do.
No, and it's really odd contrasted against the experience of playing the game and how they make combat and death so meaningful in a way that a lot of other games I just haven't even thought about it in that way. But then when I'm running around the world, it's just bland. It's extremely bland. Like the world is there, but I am mostly just fast traveling between the towers and then running to whatever I've marked on my map. And occasionally I'll walk around and be like, oh, I get it. Like I remember this spot that I did this thing. But by and large, I have invested 10 hours into the first half of the map, and I just unlocked last night the second area you can go into. I've barely committed any of it to memory, which is too bad given how much I'm enjoying everything else about the game. I mean, the story is whatever, but like the actual experience of playing the game, I am enjoying tremendously. And it is increasingly struck me as odd that at least the first half of the game it just looks really boring. Although the second half seems like it's got some green going on.
Someone in the chat was just saying that like the second area has a lot more like green grass and like fields and stuff in it, which is good. I haven't gotten there yet. I've barely had a chance to really play it this week at all because I've been working on other stuff. But I'm looking forward to digging more into that this weekend. So you're how many hours in at this point?
I'm like 11 or 12.
Okay.
And it's a game you could sprint through in about 8 if you wanted to.
Like if you just did the main quests?
Yeah, but the story missions are probably the least interesting thing about the game, and the story is, as has been said before, and I've said before, not particularly interesting, but just running around and destroying Sauron's army and engaging in the Nemesis system and upgrading your guy with these runes that drop because of various ways you can, like one of the things you get about halfway through the game is the ability to issue a death threat, which when you encounter an enemy that you're hunting down, you can issue him a death threat, which then scares him but doesn't kill him, and then he goes and gets a gang, and then also gets an increased chance for a more unique drop. So basically, rather than offing him immediately, you artificially increase the difficulty level, basically. Like you're basically just making this guy harder to kill, but then getting a better loot for taking him out at a later time. So I've been kind of messing around with a bunch of that stuff, and it's all the little touches. We talked about this with Samantha, but I've almost cleared out the map full of objectives, like side stuff, and I never do that stuff in games, and it drives me nuts when I hear Vinny spending 20 hours doing it in the games that he plays, because he's one of those people that does the story missions last and then has somehow cleared out all of the open world stuff before he even gets rolling on what's to be offered in the story missions. But I find myself doing a lot of that in here because they make it very painless to engage with it. When I'm in an area that has the bats I need to take out, it says, hey, there are bats nearby. When there are herbs nearby that I need to grab, hey, there are. It's made it very pleasant to mess with those sub-objectives, and as a result, I have done basically all of them on the first side of the map.
Yeah, totally. I mean, last year, the only 2 games I found myself trying to do all the side missions in were Saints Row 4 and AC4. Like, those were and normally I don't care that much about the side stuff in, like, Assassin's Creed games at all, but, like, AC4 with all the boat stuff, and just all the little missions. The way they streamlined a lot of that stuff in a really good way that made me want to actually do that. And that is always the key for me, is finding a way to streamline that in such a way as it always feels like there's something just nearby enough that I should just go do that is actually fun and interesting. And in the case of Shadow of Mordor, I haven't run into one of those objectives yet where I felt bored. Like, there hasn't been one of those missions where I felt like, this is just kind of tedious, I don't feel like doing it. Like, all the stuff I've been doing in that game that isn't tied to a main quest has been enjoyable, which is, that's a hard thing to pull off, because how often do we play open world games and run into these side missions that are just like these really tedious fucking chores to get through that just, and you end up ignoring them for the rest of the game.
I'd say the one exception to that are the I'm not sure, like the oppression mission. It's basically where you're trying to free the various slaves that are being held captive.
I've done a couple of those.
There's a lot of them. There's like 25, and
all right, I've done like 3.
And at least in the 6 or 7 I've played, nothing changes in those. You are dropped into an area. Here are 3 yellow dots or 4 yellow dots.
Right.
Kill some orcs, save these people, and then move on. Like those I've only done 6 of them, and then have now just avoided doing them because I haven't found them very interesting. Whereas the other objectives are consistently interesting and unique. I mean, basically they're mini games within various parts of the map. Like, you're trying, there's sword and bow and dagger ones, which basically, it's like, okay, if I've been doing a lot of combat, well, okay, the stealth in this game is pretty enjoyable because it's very lenient on your ability to get around and actually pull it off. So maybe I'll go do a stealth mission, and then that's 10 minutes of your time, and you get an upgrade out of it. Like, I have found those side objectives to be varied enough that they're different enough from how I play the actual game that it's a nice change of pace from whatever else I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm hoping to dig into more of that this weekend, because I've probably played about 4 or 5 hours at this point, and that's kind of it. So I would like to try and get further into it, especially considering, I mean, a bunch of people are talking in the chat right now about whether this is a Game of the Year contender or not, and we've had that conversation already a couple of times where it's like, there aren't a lot of games that I can sit there and I can point to and be like, that is definitively a Game of the Year contender this year. So I feel like I really do need to kind of sink some time into that so that I can actually have a conversation about that game later in the year, because it's going to come up regardless.
I thought we already gave Game of the Year to Jazzpunk. I thought we already decided that.
I would love to. I still think that might be my top pick right now. But regardless, I know it's going to come up in conversation, so I feel like I should get through more of it. As opposed to Destiny, where it's like I just don't care anymore.
It's a fantastic game, and Alien Isolation, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, 2 back-to-back excellent license games.
Yeah.
So that that's encouraging. That's not usually the trend we're talking about.
Yeah. I'm currently I'm saving Aliens for a little while because per a discussion on Twitter yesterday, Kara Ellison's coming back to town. Mm-hmm. And he pitched the idea of us doing an all-night sleepover style night vision camera, us playing that game in the studio, and just kind of screaming our fucking heads off kind of thing. So we might try and do that.
I'm into that. I like that idea.
So she'll be back, I think, in November. So if we can schedule that and we can make it work, we'll do it. And if we can't, you know what? I'll probably just do something like that.
What if we one-upped that, made you guys play it on the PC, and strapped an Oculus to your head? Huh? I'd ship my Oculus out for that.
Like, I'm actually having, like, palpitations even just kind of thinking about that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, all right.
We'll see. We'll get some some footy pajamas. We'll wrap ourselves in some blankets and we'll just scare the shit out of ourselves. We'll see. I don't know if the Oculus thing is gonna happen though. We'll see.
What, you been playing anything else this week, or mostly just NBA?
It's mostly just been NBA. You sent me a Hyper Light Drifter code. I need to play that at some point. I haven't touched it yet. There's some other stuff from my backlog I kind of need to go back and finish. Like I haven't finished Shovel Knight. I would like to do that at some point. I have a couple of other things I need to start finishing. But other than that, yeah, I haven't really had a chance to touch anything yet.
Yeah, I need to play Hyper Light Drifter as well. There's a sort of month-long access to an early beta of that game happening for Kickstarter backers, and then they also sent some codes around, and I have loved the short bits of that game I have played at GDC, and I don't think I played at E3, but I've played it twice at various events this year, and it's a fantastic modern sort of Zelda game that yeah, you need to check that out.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
it's really good. It's really good. Yeah, I'm trying to think. That's really all I played. I mean, my review of Alien Isolation went up on the site earlier this week, in which I spent some time. Like when I talked about that game on the Friday show, it was very much from the perspective of a like hardcore horror fan that is nitpicking things to death because that's what he does, as opposed to my review, which was a more tempered sort of like, okay, how is this game actually, as opposed to hypercritical horror guy that will largely tear anything apart. And then that's kind of where my review ended up, because I think that game is pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, in our conversations about it prior to the show and afterward, you seemed a little bit more positive about it, and it's like you said, the game has a thing that it does extremely well. It's just that it does it for too long and with not quite enough, not necessarily variety, but like not enough other stuff to kind of support it. Like the fact that it teases the idea of these human characters who could be your friend or foe, and then does absolutely nothing with that. Stuff like that. That's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try and set up a post-mortem interview with Creative Assembly. I'm curious to try and pick their brains about. It just feels like when you play that game that there are huge elements that were tossed out. It's hard. The interactions you have with humans and things like that. It feels like that game should have had a lot more sort of systemic elements to it that allowed you to kind of play with various AI and have a more meaningful engagement with what was happening on the space station, and that stuff was at some point ripped out. I could be completely wrong, but the game teases enough elements of, hey, you're going to interact with other humans, that's like, no, you don't. You fire a shot into the air and then hide in a closet while the alien tears them apart, which I will, to be perfectly honest, never gets old. It never gets old to walk into a room full of 7 people in which fighting through 7 humans is really difficult because they often have shotguns and have pretty good aim, and you don't have any body armor. So the most common thing I would do is literally fire a shot in the air, toss a noisemaker, hide in a closet, alien pops out, and you just sit in the closet hearing people going, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, as 7 to 8 people are just torn apart.
Whew, that sounds weirdly enticing. I don't know. I don't know what the term for that is, but that's.
It's satisfying.
Yeah. I gotta play that game. I gotta play that fucking game.
It's good. So yeah, I'm hoping to finish off Shadow of Mordor this weekend, or at least get pretty close to the end, because Evil Within comes out.
Yes. Evil Within is out next week. Bayonetta 2 is out very soon as well, right?
End of the month. That game is. Okay. There's a demo out on the eShop, which I want to check out. I
do too.
I played a bit of Bayonetta 1 and liked what I played, mostly because of the absurdity, less because of the combat. I don't usually get too into those beat 'em ups, but I sure loved The Last Devil May Cry, and the absurdity of the Bayonetta series is fascinating to me. So I guess I can't guarantee I'm going to play through Bayonetta 2, but I would like to. play through Bayonetta 2.
I don't think I finished Bayonetta 1. I really liked it, and I played it to a certain point, and then I think something else distracted me, and I just never went back to it. But I love the character. I love the absurdity of the universe. I'm kind of all about that shit, and I love, even though it might not be to the game's greater benefit, I just love that it's a Wii U exclusive because that's just so weird. That has never stopped being weird to me.
Yeah, it's actually been fascinating to watch that play out because it's Kamiya, right? The designer on that game, or he's not the lead designer on this one, but he oversaw.
I think he did the first one though.
Yeah, and he's still involved in this one, but he's not the. He was working on Wonderful 101 while this was in production, and now he's working on that Xbox One game.
And also swearing on Twitter a lot.
Yeah, but it's he was very clear in saying Sega was going to cancel this project. Sega had stopped having an interest in seeing this through. They shopped it around to a number of publishers, and everyone said no. And at the last second, Nintendo stepped in and said, "We'd like to finance this. We'd like to see this through." And it's instead he gets a lot of flack on Twitter, like, why isn't this coming to Xbox One? Why isn't it coming to PS4? And he's been pretty clear in response, saying you should be sending Nintendo if you wanted a second Bayonetta, you should be sending all the thanks to Satoru Iwata and company, because this game should not exist because the industry basically rejected it, and Nintendo said, it may not be our thing, but come on, let's do it.
Yeah, why not? And I kind of hope that maybe Nintendo's. I mean, we'll see how Bayonetta turns out, but I have based on people's impressions of it, it sounds like this one is at least pretty good. I hope that they start to do more of that. I imagine that Bayonetta is maybe a little bit of a test case for them, but I would love to see them start just reaching out and just trying to pick weird shit that nobody else wants to do and putting that stuff on the Wii U. Like that. You want to get me interested in that system. I mean, granted, there's been some good stuff on the Wii U this year, but just not very much of it. You want to really drum up some fucking interest for weirdos like me, that is the way to do it. Go find shit that nobody else wants to do, not because it's bad, but because it's too risky or whatever. Use that Nintendo money, fucking put some weight behind it.
Well, we got our stealth game of the year contender, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, coming out December 5th. So excited that game is sneaking in at the end of the year. I'm with a slight amount of sarcasm, but mostly without, am tremendously excited for that video.
I like the Captain Toad levels. I'm not necessarily convinced that can support an entire game, but I'm glad they're trying. I would like to see how it works out.
I will admit that I raised an eyebrow when they announced the shipping date for Smash Bros. Wii U, and then said, "Oh, yeah, Captain Toad's coming out this year as well, December 5th, $39.99." And I was like, "What? $40?" I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be $60, but I did raise an eyebrow at the fact that it's $40, which I don't know. It struck me as an expanded downloadable game as opposed to like something that runs between a downloadable game and a full priced product. I don't know. Maybe there is more to that game than they have let on. Other than it just being Toad Tracker levels, but 200 of them. But yeah. I don't know, whatever. If it's just 200 Toad Tracker levels, I'm also not going to complain because
I hope there's enough variety to sustain that. But I'm glad that they're trying it, and I'm looking forward to playing that. Arguably more than I'm looking forward to playing Smash Brothers, because again, I'm just not a Smash Brothers person. So
I'm excited to play Smash Brothers, and also it's maybe the first game this year that my wife has explicitly said, "Hey, when is that new Smash Brothers coming out? We're buying it, right?" And I was like, I guess I am now."
Yeah, my girlfriend has asked a few times about when that's coming out, and I keep saying to her, it's coming out in November, it's fine. Where she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to play it." I'm just like, yeah, I guess.
Oh, I'm excited. I like the Smash Brothers series. I got nothing against it.
I feel like there's something wrong with me that I don't like Smash Brothers that much. It's not that I think they're bad games. I can't get into them, and I don't know why that is, and I don't know what it is that's preventing me from doing it. But I've just never been able to. And I played this one at E3. I played the Wii U one, and it seemed fine. It seemed like a very good Smash Brothers game. I felt nothing while I played it. There was an absence of feeling. It was a void. It was like it's what I imagine sociopathy feels like. It's like there's no actual feeling. It's just a hollow shell of a motionless shell. And I just sat there and I just played it and I just went, okay, yeah, all right. I think I'm a bad person. I think that just makes me dead inside. And
I got no disagreement from myself or the chat. Got your own issues to work out, Alex. Smash Brothers is not your problem.
Well, I might as well embrace this while I can.
I'm looking forward to playing Smash. I don't. It's weird. It continues to strike me as odd that the Smash series is as polarizing as it is. There was an article I read recently. It was some review about the 3DS version in which they made the argument that the Smash series finally decided to take a side with this newest one. And the Smash series basically has always had sort of an identity crisis in which does it cater to the audience that views it as a fighting game and tries to really embrace that, or is it a game that is, as it started, a sort of fun jumble of Nintendo characters that are doing crazy things, kind of under the guise of a fighting game, but that it doesn't, sort of take that part seriously. And the argument was made in this review, and I have not played the 3DS one because I'm waiting for the Wii U one, is that Nintendo finally picked a side and they sided with the fighting fans and said,
yeah,
we're gonna, it's the people who want to play this and just have goofy fun are still going to be able to do that, but why continue to ignore the folks that take this seriously, because they're the ones that, raise tens of thousands of dollars for charity playing at EVO. They're the ones that have kept this community alive for a company that doesn't know how to maintain a community, and it seems awfully odd to continue ignoring that audience.
No, yeah, it makes sense. And, again, there's obviously a great deal of appeal to those games, and, I actually do kind of enjoy watching some of the competitive Smash Brothers stuff that goes on at those tournaments and in those competitions. Like, I do kind of dig that, but
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to play it. I just don't.
It's fine.
I got Mario
Alex,
Kart. I can just play Mario Kart.
Alex, you don't have to play it.
But everybody says I have to.
You don't have to play it. No, you don't.
No, but I'm a video gamesman, and it's a video game that all the other video gamesmen like, and so therefore I have to
play your sports games. It's fine.
Can I?
Well, if the servers are up, you can.
Ah!
So I don't know, maybe that's. Just pay a couple dollars and
all right,
PK will just walk away and put those servers back online. Just pay a couple bucks. Couple bucks, everyone's happy. Just a little protection money for those servers. Those servers they're fragile. They're delicate.
Just feeding dollar bills into the disc tray, just in the hopes that shit will work. Take this tribute, please make work good now.
Yeah, that sounds like a YouTube comment.
So, Smash Brothers.
Smash Brothers.
That's coming out.
Yeah, I don't know. It is coming out. Let's see. Trying to see what other news this week. Hotline Miami 2 slightly pushed back. They're not sure when it's coming out. It's
early 2015 is the current target, right?
Well, it was supposed to come out now. It was supposed to be
Right.
out in August or September, and then obviously it didn't hit those dates. So it's late 2014, early 2015. Probably, my bet would be on the latter. My guess is it would come out in January sometime. But
That sounds about right.
I never finished the original game. I don't know if I should go and do that now or just wait. I can't.
So-
I'm not sure.
I finished it one time when I was reviewing it, and I've gone back and played it a bunch of times since then, but I have not finished it one time in any of those times. Like, I just keep starting over from the beginning and just replaying until I get tired of it, and then starting over again and again. I think it's worth finishing. The ending in that game's real weird, but in a way that I kind of appreciate it. I think it's worth getting through.
I just know, that I jump into it, I'd play a couple levels, and I'd sort of get my fill, and I just never quite, I love the aesthetic, I love the way it plays, it's a game that pushes a lot of buttons, but it never quite got its hooks in me. It was always something I appreciated in the moment,
Yeah.
and then wasn't like sitting on the couch going, man, I gotta play some Hotline Miami.
Yeah, it hooked me pretty hard, especially when I first started playing it. Subsequent playthroughs less so, but that first time, I mainlined that game real hard the whole way through. And for a game that is about repeated death and a certain amount of inherent frustration like that, I'm surprised that I was able to make it through without like breaking shit, because I get very easily frustrated in games like that. But just something about that one kept me going and made me not feel like I wanted to, actually cause physical violence trying to finish it. I don't know. It's just something between the aesthetic and just the tightness of the gameplay and just the furious pace of it. Just even if you are taking moments to sort of plot out your strategy for a room of like, okay, there's guys in that room, there's a guy there, what weapon can I use here, and all that kind of stuff, it's still paced at so quickly and so intensely that it never feels like it's dragging, and that to me was a huge factor in why I loved it so much.
I'm thinking of playing the Vita version, and maybe I'll just start playing
Yeah.
it while I watch Bears games, because I'm frustrated what's happening on the TV screen. I'm frustrated what's happening on my Vita screen. Maybe I'll just combine the two and just really just get all my frustrations out in that 3 hours.
Might as well, yeah. And the Vita version's good, so I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's on my Vita. I just haven't had a chance to futz with it. So maybe now is the time, as the Bears season becomes increasingly frustrating. Maybe now is the time to just embrace it and start playing Hotline Miami.
Embrace the hate.
I've never had to say this out loud. Hatsune Miku, is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got it. Think so?
It was on David Letterman.
The entity known as Hatsune Miku.
Yeah, it's highly recommend people check out the performance. I'm not sure how much there is to say about it, except that I thought your tweet really summed it up beautifully. I forget the exact wording. The
picture of Letterman just saying, "I picked the right time to retire."
Yep, just a real, well, fuck this.
The world has definitely passed me by, so time to get out of here. And obviously, David Letterman is a member of the CBS family, so we don't want to make too much fun of him. But at the same time, you can just see that just the old man, like, just done with it face that he has in all of that, and not in like a I hate that I'm here, but in a very smiley, like, this is ridiculous, I don't know what anything is anymore, time for me to go.
What an odd venue to have that idea debut. Letterman just seems like the worst possible stop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably, is it the most popular of the late night shows? I don't
it's one of the top rated. I think the Tonight Show still does really well. I don't know how the ratings have been consistently since Fallon took over, but my understanding is that they're not bad. And Kimmel does fine too, but all three of those shows do reasonably well. I do feel like Fallon might have been the better fit, because it does seem like that does skew audience-wise a little bit younger. I don't know. But my dad watches Letterman. That to me, in my mind, is the Letterman audience.
That's why I found it so odd, because I thought the audience did not, the host did not match it. I mean, obviously Letterman's a good sport, and he's going to go along
for
with
anything.
It. But it's like, like your dad isn't going to suddenly be like, oh, this is a curious little export from Japan. But on Fallon, someone who obviously, understands games, embraces culture, like runs with the trends. It just seems like he would have had fun with it and would have embraced it, and it probably would have been a better venue for something like that.
But at the same time, I'm really glad they went with Letterman, because it was such a contrast in tone that I think that was kind of perfect in its own way.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I'm from the I'm speaking mostly from the perspective of what they should have done, not what I'm glad they did. I'm glad it showed up on Letterman. It would have made more sense on Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert or anything like that. But I'm glad it showed up on Letterman.
Totally. And I guess this was all in promotion for a Madison Square Garden show that Hatsune Miku is playing, or something equivalent. It might not be as big as Madison Square. I don't know. I remember getting a couple of emails, like PR emails letting me know, hey, Hatsune Miku's coming to play in New York at some giant venue, and I remember just shaking my head at it thinking, that seems like a weird idea. And then it's on fucking Letterman, and I'm like, people are actually going to go to this thing, aren't they? There's going to be like a giant-ass audience for that.
If there was a show in my area and I could get free tickets as press, I would have gone in a heartbeat.
Oh, totally.
I would have gone. I would love to go to one of these shows. It sounds like such a trip.
So Baby Metal came through town not that long ago, and I tried to get my girlfriend to go to that because she loves metal and she thinks Baby Metal is hilarious.
What's Baby Metal?
Baby Metal is a pop group that appropriates metal culture in a way that is super bizarre and like just this close to infuriating without quite crossing that line.
Okay.
And it's fascinating. It is a fascinating group. You should go watch a couple of pieces of Baby Metal videos and just see what they do, because if you just took all the aesthetics of metal and then somehow just coded it in the sort of like candy sweet pop shit that most of J-pop kind of is, it would be that pretty much.
That sounds. I don't have a response.
Yeah.
I
tried to get her to go. She wouldn't go. She felt like she would be super embarrassed being at that show. So I couldn't find anyone else to go, so I didn't. But maybe they'll come back around.
Baby Metal is a great turn of phrase, though. I like that. Baby Metal.
Baby Metal. Baby Metal. Danny Hibicki says it's not really appropriated because Dave Mustaine does a lot of the guitar work writing. You know what? I don't know that Dave Mustaine has. Does anyone take Dave Mustaine seriously anymore?
Ooh.
Has anyone?
I don't know. That guy in the chat is.
I guess. I don't know. Dave Mustaine's kind of dead to me, if I'm honest. So.
Miku, I want you to come through Chicago. Do it. Do it. I'll go. I'm in. That sounds. Yeah. EA is giving away Dragon Age Origins. If you want to sign up for Origin, or if you have Origin, go to EA's website or sign in Origin. You can get that leading up to Inquisition.
Get Origin.
Yep. That's terrible. I guess you should have written that headline. Or not, or you shouldn't have written that headline.
Yeah, no, it's probably for the best that I did not.
Yeah, I don't have time to play that, but I am excited to play the new Dragon Age. I'm going to try and jump on board with the new one. Sony temporarily delays Drive Club PS Plus edition because of server issues. Although the running conspiracy theory, which, hey, there have been a lot this week. It has been a grand old week for conspiracy theories in the video game industry. This one isn't, this one may have a grain of truth, but the idea being that they didn't delay the PlayStation Plus expanded demo because of server issues. They delayed it because the game has not been received particularly well. And you would want to maximize the people who are willing to pay $60 before you give a version that offers quite a bit. You get access to India, which is one of several locations of the game, 11 tracks, 10 cars in every game mode, and you can play online. I mean, that's a lot. That might be enough for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
Danny, I want to correct Danny Hibicki, who said in the chat that originally was Dave Mustaine. It's actually Marty Friedman. So that is far better. That is a much more interesting personality. Marty Friedman has also done a lot of guitar work for New Japan Pro Wrestling, I guess. So
weird.
Yeah. The Drive Club. That's a game I'm not probably ever going to actually play.
No. You know what I did get excited about? So Disney just put a bunch of stuff on Steam, and like out of nowhere, and one of those two games that I'd be curious to check out. I don't know how the PC versions are; they could be complete garbage. But Split Second, excellent game. Really enjoyed that game. And then Pure, which if you haven't played Pure, that game's from a couple years ago, but it's like
I think I play Pure.
it's an off-road AV game. It's got like a stunt trickle thing. It's
I own
beautiful.
Pure. I have Pure. Okay, so I did play Pure.
Yeah, Pure's great. Like I don't really play stuff like that, but I really liked Pure, and
I
I
want to
don't know how.
say Drew really, really, really liked that game.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And then Split Second was a great game as well. That sadly did not get a sequel. None of that's going to change because those teams don't exist anymore. But
Yeah.
those games are now on Steam, and I have like a weird curiosity to check out Epic Mickey 2. Like a weird curiosity, because it's probably really bad.
Yeah, I played a little bit of that before it came out. They had a press event just for that game, and they let me play like a solid, I don't know, probably like 45 minutes or something. And I remember the entire time going, as the producer was telling me all the things they changed, going, well, this is certainly everything I hated about Epic Mickey again. I remember a lot of people saying to me that game was like just supremely disappointing all around. I never got around to playing the full thing. I don't
The
know if I
only
have that
exposure
more
I've had to it was when we did the Wii U launch stream, and
wow,
or not
right.
was it the Wii U one, or was it the Xbox launch stream? No, because I distinctly remember Ryan playing it, so it must have been the Wii U one. And
Hang on, I'm going to look to see what Epic Mickey videos we have, what that would be associated with.
I think that was the Wii U launch stream, and it just like the frame rate. Like we just booted it up out of nowhere, and the frame rate we like just crawled, just like it was bad. Didn't look good. And I didn't hate Epic Mickey. I liked some of the ideas they were going for, but it very
It had
much
some good ideas.
it very much reeked of my first platformer. A team making a platformer that had never made one before, which is why I was optimistic about the second one, because it seemed like, okay, you got your feet under you. You made that game. It didn't really pan out how we wanted, but there were some cool ideas. But I don't know. It didn't seem like they learned very much from that second one, and it was unfortunate.
Yeah, it's too bad.
But that's all I got. There's a report that Unity is being sold. It's currently courting a bunch of different folks. Google is one of the ones that has been bandied about. I think I've seen a lot of indie developers kind of doing some hand-wringing over Unity being sold, because if it was picked up by some of the players that you might think it would be picked up by, such as Microsoft, there would be less of an emphasis on platform agnostic behavior. There would be,
Right.
You would imagine a catering towards the needs of the company's, overall goals. I mean, that's kind of what happened with, what was that middleware that Criterion worked on when they got purchased by EA? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it offhand.
Criterion middleware. Renderware.
Renderware.
Yeah.
Wasn't everybody
which
using
ended-
Renderware for a while?
It was I believe it was. Yeah, I mean, it was largely a Criterion thing, I guess. I don't know. Well, wait. No, this is pointing out. I'm looking at Criterion's page. Of course, it's only going to list Criterion games. Criterion's page. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that it seems like it was developed on, but yeah, it became pretty much a EA thing after they got purchased. So yeah, I think there's some fear that Unity would go that route when it was purchased, which obviously maybe Google would be the best place for that to land. I don't know. I'm not sure where the best place for Unity to land is, but I can certainly sympathize with the concerns of developers of the independence of a game engine that is platform independent seems pretty key to its future, and if that disappears, they have right to be disappointed, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. That's all I got too. You've covered the news that I cared about. So
yeah, what are you gonna get up to this weekend?
I'm gonna get up to some Shadow Mordor. I'm gonna hopefully try and finish the last couple levels of Shovel Knight if I can. If not, probably next weekend. And other than that, I'm hopefully going to finish playing what I need to play of NBA 2K15 today. If I can't, I'm just going to go face down on the rug in my living room and just scream into it until the game starts working again.
If you put that
'Cause that's
video
how,
up
that
too,
should work, right?
yeah, people would watch that video.
Yeah. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and finish Mordor. I don't have access to Evil Within yet. I think it starts preloading today on Steam, so
Mm.
I might ping some folks to see if I can try and get access to the PC version ahead of time. We've been on a roll with PC versions being pretty excellent. So
Yeah.
I'm playing. I played the Alien on PS4 because Sega sent me an early copy, but the Shadow of Mordor, excellent on PC. Alien Isolation, excellent on PC. I mean, Alien. I mean, I think it is revealed how much of that game is lighting when I booted it up on the PC and it defaulted everything to Ultra, which just does not. I've started to having to run games that are primarily geared for current gen consoles on like a variety of medium to high settings because I haven't invested in a new GPU yet. I have like a pretty decent i7 CPU and I have plenty of memory, but my GPU is starting to fall behind the curve, and I've been waiting for the next sort of like wave of announcements to pull the trigger on that. But both Alien and Mordor look phenomenal and have run really, really well. So I'm crossing my fingers that Evil Within will continue that trend. But I don't know how to feel about that game. I want it to be awesome, but I look at it and I just give it a weird stink eye.
I have my concerns about it, certainly.
It'd be awesome if it was awesome.
There are aspects of it that I think look really fucking cool, and I could also see those aspects being totally horrible in execution. So here's crossing fingers that it is actually a well-executed horror game.
Yeah. So I can't promise a review because it's it's Friday. That game comes out on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I suspect that game is not short. My guess is that game is pretty beefy. But I do intend to play it, and if I have a chance to play it this weekend, I'll make sure and report back next week. But if not on Monday, then definitely on Friday. Be happy to share some thoughts on the Evil Within. But that's gonna do it for us. That's gonna do it for a show. In the archive version of this, there will be an ad. So we don't have ads every week on the show, and we don't do them during the live version, but we kind of add them in after the fact. So there will be a premium version of the podcast that goes up in the premium feed with no ad, and there'll be a version that goes up in the regular feed with an ad, and then the video version will not have an ad because that would be weird. So look for that. Pay attention to that if that is something that means something to you. But Alex, otherwise, I will see you on Monday.
Oh.